Hi YouTube, welcome back. Well, it's been a little while, so it's time for another collaboration. Stay tuned. This collaboration was started by Smith Family Ranch. I will link their channel down below. And it is about the 3 things you learned this growing season. Well, I have a lot of things that I learned this growing season because I did a lot of new things. So we'll go with the top 3. Number 1, I need stronger trellises. Now, I did okay with what I had, used the resources available to me that I could afford at the time. I had wanted to do cattle panels, but that never happened. So I did what I could. Now, if you remember from previous videos, the bamboo trellis that I made got knocked over by a storm. My purple metal arch, well, this year I moved it and I put it sideways, so now it just wants to get knocked over. And then there was the pea trellis, which had to be supported, so when it was time to switch it over to cucumbers, we totally redid it. It's still holding up, but oh my goodness, the giant Siamese cucumbers, they need a cattle panel. They're huge. I wasn't expecting them to get quite that big, but hey, they're tasty. And they're still holding up. It's not the best, but they're holding up. And then there was my sunflowers, which you haven't seen yet because that just happened the other day. Because the bean vines were kind of holding it to the trellis. Well, the bean vines gave out. It just totally fell over, landing on my pepper plants. Number 2. Now, last year, I found the Back to Eden film. I looked into lasagna gardening and Ruth Stout method. And even though the 2 original beds that I had started, that was before I found those, so I had actually dug out all the grass, and then I filled it with a mix of topsoil, compost, and peat moss. And I had okay results. Every little thing that I added in the yard afterwards, I just put down cardboard and then compost on top, and most of it grew pretty well. So that's what I usually did here, this year. Cardboard and then compost on top and then plant in that. I'd like to leave it for a couple of weeks, let the cardboard start to break down a little bit so it's easier to dig through when you're putting your transplants in, unless you're just planting from seed. But this year, I didn't always do that. I did that in some places, and in other places where it's like, I didn't care as much, and I didn't have to kill a bunch of grass because it was already dead. Then I just put a little bit of compost on top, kind of worked it in and planted in it. Those things grew great. Pumpkin. It's the first one I planted. It took a while to get started. This pumpkin has been doing pretty well. This was last year. I had a little spot where I planted the seed. There was a spot last year that was cardboard and then compost on top. So I figured it'd be great this year, although it does get more shade because of the tree. These are the last 3 pumpkins. 3 seeds put in a bare spot over there by the burn barrel. We had a pile of sticks all winter. It killed the grass. And the soil looked pretty good, so I just put a little bit of compost on top and worked it in. 3 seeds. They're starting to trying to climb up the runner bean trellis. They're all over in that bed. They're going all the way down there and around the other side of the hedges into my neighbor's yard. These are my jalapenos. Started the seeds indoors early March. Planted out mid to late May. Nurtured them, cared for them. I've gotten a few jalapenos. But this was on cardboard with a couple inches of compost on top. These were an afterthought. This is serranos. These I started beginning of June from seed. Beginning of June. And they are just loaded with peppers. Loaded! Because it was an afterthought, they just got a little bit of compost dug into the ground because the grass was already dead over here. But these just took off. Number 3. Seed packets lie. Not always, and usually only one thing on there if it is. But seed packets do lie. First I found this out this year was with my broccoli, which I don't. My seed packet said 16 inches spread. 16-inch spread. That was a lie. This is my 4-foot bed. That plant is 3 feet wide. That is definitely not 16 inches. But that's not the only instance of lying seed packets. There's also variety. I ordered ground cherries. And I knew they were similar to tomatillos because, well, they're related. I put my ground cherries in the ground, and I put my tomatillos in buckets. Because the ground cherries were supposed to stay a little bit smaller. And again, it was on cardboard and then compost. But this is what the ground cherries look like. Yeah. These are supposed to be ground cherries. That's not even ready yet. And they taste just like my tomatillos. These aren't ground cherries. It's just tomatillos. I got more tomatillos, which took longer to fruit, but they've lasted longer. So apparently I shouldn't put the tomatillos in the buckets. They didn't do as well. Another example of the lying seed packets has to do again with how big the plant gets. The giant Siamese cucumbers that are so huge. Yeah, it said 10-foot long vine. It's more than 10 foot. Definitely more than 10 foot. So I allowed space for, well, just come look. It's only 2 seeds. 2 seeds. Tell me that's only 10 feet long, because they're still going. 5 feet up. It's just string in the middle, so it's kind of pulled down in the middle. And then that's still the same one way over here. Over on this side, it's also coming out into the yard. So if you're going to grow something new, take the seed packet into consideration, but expect the unexpected. Learn from it, and then, if you like the plant, and you're going to grow it again, you'll need that first year for trial and error of seeing how big does it get? What kind of soil does it really like? How much do you really need to water it? Like, I found out early this year that my garlic doesn't like to be in the corner of the block bed closest to the house. You can grow garlic in part shade. The problem is all the rain that we had in the springtime stayed too wet in that corner where it got more shade, because it didn't have as much sunlight to evaporate the rain, so it just stayed wet and all my garlic rotted. So this year I am planting the garlic out where it will stay dry in my little 4x4 bed. Take the seed packet into consideration, but prepare for changes. Those are my 3 things that I learned the most this year. So thanks for coming along with me today. I hope you enjoyed this video. And remember, life's an adventure. Thanks for joining me in mine. God bless.